Welcome, everybody, to Two Old White Men with Mike Donahue and
Steve Hayes, white man number 2, or my white man number 1, old man, white man number,
Old
who
White
knows?
Man number.
And
You're number 2.
like thing 1 and thing
This was
2 were
my
old white
idea.
man 1.
So, we should get
It's like thing
T-shirts.
1 and 2 from Dr. Seuss, right?
I'll be yeah. I'll be old man number 1. Hey, I got my Celtic stuff on, buddy.
I'm sorry to hear that.
About to go in the playoffs soon. Red Sox just started.
Yeah.
My favorite, Steve. This is my favorite part of the year for sports because we got hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs. Just ended March Madness. I'm not drunk, I promise. And we are, hitting baseball season starting, spring football. I mean, it's just a glorious time for the sports world.
Spring is here. The weather's getting nicer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do like having baseball every night, that option to watch. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Steve, so tomorrow I got to do a man thing. I got a man job to do. My brother-in-law is a farmer, and he's got cattle, and some of the calves are getting sick, so we have to round them all up. That means we got to get them away from their moms. I can't wait. Like, I just can't. I'm a city kid. Haven't been around cows my whole life, like my wife and her family. But I get to chase the moms away from their kids, which is really sounds brutal.
Oh my word,
But we'll get them back,
dude! I hate
after
to
we
admit
give them-
this. I hate to admit this myself because I'm a city kid too. And I've never been around cows, and I went and visited this place where I was speaking at. This guy that owns this ranch, he said, "Come on out," So I went out to the ranch, and we went out to this field, and all of a sudden, all these cows came from everywhere. And I mean, they were like right in my. I mean, I'm right there. I mean, I got a little intimidated. I'm like, I know cows are supposed to be nice, but this was really weird. Having those cows just like staring at me, chewing their cud. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Boston, so the first time I ever touched a cow, I was 20, and that was a bad night. We're not going to talk about that, but yeah. So no, this will be fun. It'll be a man thing to do, and so I get to brag a little bit tomorrow. But Steve, so I speak in schools, as you know, but I don't know if everybody else knows that. And I've been doing this new thing called the Old Man Challenge. So we posted it last video. We didn't get to do a video last week because it was Easter, and Steve was traveling, I was traveling. But we are doing one this week, obviously. And so, but I spoke at a school. It was Dorchester, Nebraska. But we say it in Boston like Dorchester because that's a Boston. That's a really tough town outside, right south of Boston. But anyways, I
Yeah,
speak at this school.
you said Dorchester. I wasn't expecting you to say Nebraska after
Yeah.
it. I thought it was going to be East
It's
Coast.
like Brooklyn, South Dakota.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that. No, anyways, I did this old man challenge. I'm gonna show the video here.
One starting.
Hey, this is Mike Donahue. I'm in Dorchester. We say it like that in Boston, Dorchester. But I'm in Dorchester, Nebraska, and this is Logan, and he's challenging me, right? Hunter, I mean. This is Hunter. How did I say Logan? He's challenging me. This is an old man challenge. So he's challenging me. He thinks I'm too old to beat him in arm wrestling. How many of you think I'm going to win? Cheer me on. Cheer. How many think Hunter's going to win?
Go.
All right, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, he's strong. Oh my God.
Hunter, go on, Hunter.
Oh God! Oh my God! Old man challenge! He did it! He did it! Cheer him on, you guys! Listen, not everything you try is going to work out, but you keep trying again. Yeah. So look at that. I mean, isn't that
No
crazy?
way. No way. You got beat by an 8th grade. Dude, that is exactly why. Like when I spoke at camps to youth and stuff like that. Whenever anybody wanted to arm wrestle me, I'd always say no. I would just ignore it. I would change the topic because I was afraid that would happen to me.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds that? How old was that kid that beat you?
14. And I lift weight like I'm not
And I
weak.
lift weights.
I gotta get
I
steroids
lift
going
silverware
again.
because they say it's not it's you should lift lighter weights a lot of times. So I like do silverware. I'll fill it up a spoon and then I'll lift it up like this, and that's why I got this table muscle down here. I mean, it's I'm working on my abs one at a time. But you're funny. I lift weights. Hey, that guy beat me, but I lift weights.
So I'm gonna do my next challenge. I think I'm gonna have two seventh grade girls try to arm wrestle me with their left hand. I can do my right. We'll see what happens. I'm doing a school next week, so I think I'm gonna try doing something like that. But
Well, I'm impressed that you would actually show that video to all of us and laugh at the
old
fact that
man
you got
challenge,
beat by a
man. You gotta,
seventh.
sometimes I'm gonna win, sometimes I'll lose. So we gotta do
Yeah.
the old man challenge. All right, so Steve-O, this week by the way, I was in Myrtle Beach. That's where I was last week, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, visiting my daughter and my granddaughter, my very first
Your
grandchild.
very first one.
Yes, and I have a picture over here. We're not
You
supposed to put
showed us a
pictures up.
picture already. Do you have a more current picture
I
of her?
got this is a current picture of her.
Wow, man, she's
This is
getting big. That's a lot of hair, man.
She came out with a full head of hair. So yeah, their parents aren't wanting us to put pictures online. Uh, Whatever.
That's a
That's
pretty good
fine.
likeness, though.
Yeah. So
It looks like you. I mean, it took after his grandpa.
yeah, it's like an FBI sketch. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Anyways, all right. So Steve, this week what we wanted to do was to ask. I wanted to ask you this question: what would your 20-year-old self be happy with you now about, like your life and where you're at now in life? What would your 20-year-old self look and say, this was a cool thing? And then we're also going to say, what would your 20-year-old self say about you in a negative way, not like to criticize, but hey, I wish this would have happened, or I'm disappointed that this didn't happen, or that kind of thing. So let's start out with and then you can ask me. Let's start out with a negative one,
Okay,
and then because I want to end kind of positive. So
sure.
the negative. Do you want me to ask first, or do you want to go?
No, you go for it. Like, what would you tell your 20-year-old? What would you do differently now? Or what? You go ahead and ask the question how you said you were going to ask it.
Yeah, basically, I was going to ask, what would your 20-year-old self be kind of disappointed with you now? Like, what would they look at your life and go, man, I wish this would have happened?
Yeah, talk to me. What would you tell your what do you think your 20-year-old self would be discouraged with you now?
I think I was thinking about this question today because I was, you know, just because we've been talking about it, and I'm thinking that, like, for me, it would probably be if my 20-year-old self was pretty. That's when I became a Christian, so I had a new worldview, and so I looked at life a little differently, and I had kind of some expectations about the world and in the Christian world, and so some of that disappointed me, and maybe even in myself a little bit. I wish I would have seen some of the things. Like I wish I wasn't so naive, because I kind of trusted the wrong people, and I'm not completely like disappointed in that because there was in that journey there was a lot of good that happened, but I think I wish I would have trusted my instincts more, because there were times that I could, like, just with my upbringing, I lived in a really tough situation. My dad left. I've talked about this before, but I had a really dysfunctional family, and because of that, I was very aware of my surroundings, and I was very aware of who I could trust and who I couldn't. I had to be, because there were shady people brought into our house, but there was also some good people too. So you kind of had to know the difference, and you can only get that from experience, And so when I started getting involved in church work, I threw that discernment aside because I thought it wasn't right, because it was kind of skeptical and that kind of thing. But it turned out that I probably should have listened to that inner voice, like the training that I had from Boston and from the bad stuff that happened was probably a good thing. And I think that goes, like, if you're watching this tonight, like, I think that you can't throw away your experience, right? You can't throw away what happened to you, and maybe some lessons you learned from it. So I think that's what I'd be disappointed with. Like, wish I would have, because it would have probably stopped me from marrying the person I married. I ended up getting divorced. I had some weird feelings about it. I didn't pay attention to it. I'm glad I have my kids. I have it, so there's always that silver lining. But that brought a lot of pain. There was a few people that in my life in the church world that were really shady and liars, basically. And I kind of knew it, but I just kind of glazed over it because I heard all the rhetoric from the church, like, you got to forgive people and and move on and love them anyways and all that kind of stuff. But some of that stuff was just really controlling, and not to get into all the church stuff, but basically I would say that's where I wish I would have paid attention more. I would have listened to myself and trusted my instincts, trusted what I kind of knew,
Yeah.
So that's, if I was going to talk to that, if I was the 20-year-old me was going to talk to the 65-year-old me, I'd say that would be, yeah, hey man, I'm not 65. What am I talking about? I'm 63. I would have, Asian myself.
I lift weights.
I do. I'll take off my shirt. No, so for me, that would be the negative thing. That's what I would say.
Mine is
What about you?
it's fairly similar to that. If I could talk to my 20-year-old self now,
No, your 20-year-old still's talking to you.
okay, my 20-year-old self's talking to me. The 20-year-old self would probably say, I wish that Steve, why it's hard worded like that is difficult for me to try to. Here's something that I regret that I my 20-year-old self would say, stop believing what everyone my whole life has tried to tell me how I'm supposed to be, how I'm supposed to act. And I listened too much to those voices. It's like Einstein said, everyone's a genius, but you try to convince a fish how to climb a tree and he's going to grow up thinking he's stupid. And my whole life, I listened to what people, it's similar to what you went through, especially when you entered in the church world. Well, my whole life I've had people try to change me to be like somebody else. And I think my 20-year-old self looking at me now would say, would you just believe in yourself more and be who you are made to be? Because I'm a very unique individual. But truth is, we're all unique individual. Why blend in when you're made to stand out? But I listened way too much. And a lot of that was because of the church world as well. This is what you're supposed to look like. This is how you're supposed to act. This is what you're supposed. I'm a very unique individual. And when I'm myself, I'm a fun person to be around. But I can also, there's also people that don't like it when I'm myself too, because I don't know if I'm larger than life or what the deal is. But for too long, I tried to be the fish climbing a tree. And I just wish I would have swam more, because I'm a good swimmer, so to speak. I'm good at being me, but I spent so much of my life trying to be somebody that I wasn't. So I never truly gave it the real shot that it should have been. I would have been a lot better if I just wouldn't have listened to so many people try to tell me who I was supposed to act like, because there weren't a lot of people that acted like me, that looked like me, that I'm just I'm an odd bird. I'm a rare bird. I'm a unique individual. And Mike, you know that as good as anybody. You've seen me in those situations. And it's funny too, because a lot of times when I step up on the stage and I'd be that character, people loved me. I'd speak places. You and I both did that for many years. But it was when I got off the stage that they tried to correct me. And now my 20-year-old self would tell me, listen, if you correct that guy that was on the stage, he's no longer the guy that's on the stage. You, Steve, be who you are. Trust your instincts as well. Be who you're made to be and stop trying to be like somebody else, which I did end up doing, but it took me too long to do it. And I think my 20-year-old self would say, Steve, just be confident in the rare bird that you are. Swim. Stop trying to climb a tree like everybody else does.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I think that's a really great, because I was always drawn when I met you to that uniqueness. Like, I mean, and not to make this about church, but both our lives we were youth pastors, and so we were in a religious system that our adult male, especially male adult mentors, a lot of them weren't as talented. I'm just going to say it. They just weren't as talented as you and I are naturally. Both of us are very talented speakers. It comes natural to me. It comes natural to you. When I first met you, I was like, the very first time I met you, I never met you. I saw you on stage. I didn't like you. We've talked about that because it did. Like I was I was early 20s. Saw you, got intimidated. I'm like, this guy's really good. Like, and I hadn't been speaking publicly very long, and so it was obvious you had because you were really good. And so but when we got to know each other, which was up in Rockford, and you came to speak for a week at our school, I immediately loved you because the thing that I really liked about you is you were super talented, but you were also humble, and you were you just had a unique way of looking at life, and so I like that.
I was
a
pretty
lot.
proud of that humble part. I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're incredibly humble.
And
So
but Mike, like when I'd go with you to schools and you would speak at a school or you would have me come up and share with you, whatever. Afterwards, man, there were times we had the school following us around. I mean, students were coming out of everywhere because we could light up a room, you know. And I listened to other people tell me I'm not supposed to act that way, and I'm glad I finally got there, but I wish I would have got my 20-year-old self would say, Steve, stop thinking around, be who you're meant to be. And if they don't like it, then just move on, but be who you are, and
and
it'll
Steve,
work out a
guess
lot
who
better.
was trying to tell you that from the sidelines, buddy? I kept because
You all
I'm the
along.
opposite. I didn't listen to myself. You listen too much to other people. I would say, like I remember like getting into it with you at times, going, Steve, who gives a shit? Just
Yeah.
like just and you found you're there now, but I mean it
But
because
I get jealous of you.
you're nicer than me. You're a nice guy. You're gonna
You're a
be
fighter.
nice
I'm a
to
lover,
people.
right? You're a lover too, but I would
Yeah,
get to I get jealous of you because you didn't care. You're like, and it
yeah.
was that Boston part of you that came out, and you were a fighter, and I wanted more of that. And that's one reason I loved hanging out with you because I've learned that. Like, if you see a strength in somebody else, hang out with them, hoping it will rub off on you. And I think a lot of your fighter did rub off on me because I'm a different person now, and I am more content with who I am. I just wish I would have learned that when I was in my 20s.
Yeah. All right. So the next step on this is to talk about what would my 20-year-old self look at my life now and go, man, I admire that. Like that I'm glad that happened. And so be ready for that question. I'll answer
Okay.
it first. I would say for me, it would be that I didn't stop when I failed. That I kept going. That I had, I went through a divorce about 15 years ago. That almost took the wind out of my sails completely. I mean,
Yeah.
it did. But there
That's
were
a
other
rough
things
stage.
before that. I worked for some people that ended up being pretty criminal, and kind of involved in a cult basically. And
Yeah.
so I saw a lot of things, and I disappointed myself. I made some mistakes. Um, when I went through a divorce, I started drinking again, and it was horrible. I made some bad decisions and bad choices, but what I think my 20-year-old self would look at my life now and go, well, he got roughed up in the middle innings, but he's closing. I'm not ready to end my life or anything, but I'm coming down the we're in my 60s, so but I'm not like I feel like I look at some guys my age now, and a lot of them are out of gas. They're just out of gas. They've stopped, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be out of gas. And I'm not. Like I would say that 20-year-old guy would go, wow, you know, he's doing it. He hasn't stopped dreaming. He hasn't stopped trying to build something out of what he had. And that's the other thing too. I'd say that all kind of goes together. I'd say that I wasn't dealt a great deck of cards. I didn't have a lot. The way I put it when I'm talking to kids in schools is, you get ingredients. Some kids get really good ingredients. They get great parents. They get great situation. You had nothing to do with that. You were born into it. It's just the way it is. That's great, right? And I'm not putting that down because that's amazing. But but there are people like myself that I didn't have great ingredients. I had drunk uncles and grandfathers and dads that leave and moms that are pretty abusive and crazy and so I got this ingredients, and I would say my 20-year-old self would say, well, you did pretty good with what you had. Like, you took what you had and you built something decent out of it. It's not perfect. I've made some dumb mistakes along the way, but whatever. I'm not going to lay down. Like, one of the things that I learned and being in the street, in South Boston was those kids were mean. So if you got in a fight with one of those kids, it wasn't like hockey where the guy goes down now and they get up, right? They leave the guy alone. Once the guy's down the ice, they stop punching. No, I didn't grow up like that. I grew up like, once you're down, it's like they're gonna hit you harder because they want you to stay down. And what I've learned is get up. Don't stay down because they'll beat you up harder. Like, staying down beats you up harder. And those of you that are watching this right now, you probably have made mistakes if you're human. If you haven't made any mistakes and you're human, stop listening to this because you're weird. No, but no, you have, and so but you can't give up. And I'd say I'm pretty proud of that. I'm proud of that I stopped drinking 5 years ago. I'm doing some stuff with my company and business, and I'm writing and I'm creating and I'm doing some stuff that I really like to do. I'm not stopping, and I have bad days. I just recently was reminded, somebody called me and reminded me of something I did 10 years ago while I was drinking after the divorce. And it wasn't criminal or anything, but I it was stupid. And I was drunk. And yeah, I felt bad for a couple hours, but then I was like, I can't stay there. Nothing I can do about it. I've made it right with the people that were there and tried to. And so there's nothing I can do. I'm not going to let my failure, this world's tough. It's a tough world. And it beats you up. So I'm not going to stay down. I'm just going to keep going. So I'd say my
Really,
20-year-old self would be proud of that.
it's really as simple as, I mean, I made this decision a long time ago, and that's very close to what I was going to say as well. But I made this decision. It's not about if I fall down or not, because I'm going to fall down. It's a matter of getting up one more time. So I don't care how many times I fall, I have to get up one more time, because to just lay there and say, I'm not going to get up, I'm just going to, because if I get up, can you promise I'm not going to fall again? No, you can't. I'm going to fall again. So I'm just going to lay here. If I just lay here, I'll never fall again. Well, now I'm living in a fallen state, right? Which is even worse, to live there, not to make mistakes and be there for a short period. But
Right.
I think my 20-year-old self is very similar to that. But the first thing I would say is you reinvented yourself. I was in my 50s and I reinvented myself. Monitor and adapt. I saw the way things were headed. And at 50 years old, I should be going, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to be. And I'm constantly reinventing myself. I don't have a problem with change. I have changed so many times. And because I see the situation and I care so much about the people I'm trying to help, that if I got to change, then I'm going to change, right? You just get used to it. And I'm doing some things today that I would prefer not to really do, but I need to do them. They're not bad things or anything like that, but the things I would rather, it being 63 years old, I would much rather to just do what I've always done. But no, that life isn't calling for that. So, and I remember when I went online at 50 something years old, I just decided I got to stop going down this path. It's not working. They're not having me come. They're not having me whatever to come and speak, or they're not having. And I'm like, but why am I giving them the keys to my life? I've got the keys to my life. And there's this thing out there, and I'm a messenger. So there's a thing out there called the internet. So why am I begging these guys to let me come and speak for them when so I just went on the internet, and it didn't pay. I didn't make a whole lot of money doing that, but I did the right thing and I reinvented myself. And I think that the other thing that my 20-year-old self would probably say to me is the same thing as you, is that I didn't quit. And good for you. I think I can hear myself saying to myself, my 20-year-old self saying, good for you. You didn't quit. You did get there. Like, people try to tell you to be like somebody else, and you caved that for a while. You didn't know any better because there's no book to read. You just lived through it, but you went through it and you ended up getting there. You ended up getting to being the person that you are. And I feel good about myself. I like me. I mean, I think my 20-year-old self would be very pleased with the fact that I like who I am. And, you know, I'm a visual person, so I love to watch movies, and I relate everything to life when I watch movies. And when I watch a movie or read a book or read the Bible or read a magazine, I'm constantly like, where do I fit in this story? Because I'm always trying to better myself. I think my 20-year-old self would say that too. Like, way to go. You're always trying to better yourself. And so I always fit, okay, where do I fit in this story? And you know, you watch the movies. My wife calls them Steve-O movies. They're the MTV movies. They're the movies that, you know, like Coach Carter or Mr. Holland's Opus or Hoosiers, or where the old guy finally, you know, he does it, right? But you watch those movies and you get inspired by them. I do. I get inspired by them. I go, man, that must have been to be that guy. And I got a thing that goes inside him that says, Steve, you are that guy. And people might think that that's egotistical. I don't think it's egotistical at all. I think we should pat ourselves on the back more often. But I know that my life has changed a lot of people's lives, and it feels really good. And I think my 20-year-old self would be very proud of who I've become despite all the things, and even the things that I wish I could change today or stuff like that. But as a whole, I like who I am. I've been a fighter. I reinvented myself, and I care about people, and I help people. And so I think my 20-year-old self would be proud of me in those few areas.
You know, I echo that. I think if I was your 20-year-old guy, I would be proud of you. I mean, you know, one of the reasons
Thank you,
I
friend.
wanted you to do this with me, this, you know, this two old white men podcast, is because of that. Because, you know, neither one of us are rich. We're not like famous or anything. We're just guys like you guys that are watching this, that are just regular guys that have, you know, life, and things happen, and disappointments, victories, and things like that, and you just have to keep going, you know. And I wonder why sometimes, like, for me, I don't want to run out of gas. Like, I look at these guys that are in there, some of these people that were in my life now, you know, I look at them now, and I'm like, man, you know, you stopped, you know, you stopped dreaming. And then when they do that, they get stuck in their ways, and they get kind of crusty and bitter. And,
Yeah.
you know, you look at the way the world is with Iran and everything that's going on, and everybody's got their, like, really dogmatic views of
Right.
things, and, you know, they're
Right.
worried and they're fearful. And, you know, I get it. I'm human too, but you know, like, I love the word adapt. I like what you said, because you have to, you have to adapt, and that doesn't mean compromise. There are things that I really do believe in, that are probably going to stay there until I die. Like, I'm a big military guy. You know, I served in the military. I believe in a strong border. I believe in, you know, things. I don't want to get all political, but there's things that I'm probably gonna. But I can be open. I can listen. I have a son who's more liberal than me, and I'm best friends with him, and we talk all the time about this stuff, and we definitely differ on things, but it's okay, because I love him, and he's processing too. He's growing. He's learning, and I can respect that, you know, and I have to adapt to and some of the stuff
Yeah.
he's made me think about it a little bit, you know, a little bit differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. The guys that I get scared of are the ones that are our age, Steve, that won't even hear it. Like, you know,
Right.
they're just stuck. They're just so, you know, locked into what they believe in. And to me, it's because they just haven't. They're not open to learning and
Yeah.
growing, not just
Yeah.
in that, but in anything.
Yeah.
So I don't
I'm
want to do
with
it.
you on that. I'm with you on
Yeah.
that. The only time, Mike, the only time I really feel old, well, my body likes to remind me quite a bit of that. But really, the only time I really feel old is when I see someone else that's my age, or someone that's on TV, or some. I remember the first time I'm watching Biggest Loser back in the day, you know, and this woman just looked haggard. I'm sorry, she just did. She looked haggard. She looked worn out. She looked tired, like you said. And when they said her age, and I was like, that was my age. And I was like, at that point, it's when I felt old. I'm like, I am not that age. I am not that age. And when you're changing, you're growing. When you stop changing, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, that's when you get tired. That's when you get weary. That's when you get haggard. That's when you just want to quit, because you don't want to change anymore. Change is not, it's not, once you embrace change, it becomes a way of life, and it's not, it really isn't. that difficult to do, but change is how we stay young. Change is how we stay growing. It's how we stay moving forward. But when we stop changing, when we stop adapting to what's around us, and that doesn't mean we can't be true to who we are. I want to be true to who I am, but I can still adapt to the people around me, to the situation around me. And that's what, Mike, you and I are both that's why I love hanging out with you. But we're pretty young for our age. I mean, we're fun. We're full of life. And even when our bodies say, man, you're tired, you don't have the energy, we still got a lot of energy. And I think a lot of it is because we hang out with a lot of young people, with a lot of teenagers. And when you do that, it keeps you young. Look at Dick Clark, man. He was like 250 years old or something before I mean, like, and the guy looked like he was, because he hung out with people like that. And when you hang out with younger people, that's been a blessing for us, Mike. It makes us feel old on the one hand, but on the other hand, it teaches us to change. It teaches us to keep relevant, to listen to. And I think when we listen to the people around us, it's easy to then begin to adapt, because you get to see the humanity of the people, and you want to help. You want to become friends with them. You want to. And change is a way to stay young, and to stay mobile, and to not get so haggard and worn out. And I'm with you, Mike. You're not going to get old. I mean, you're not done by any means. I remember years ago when you said something along the lines of, I don't know if I can keep doing schools. I'm like, Mike, you have to keep doing schools. Yeah, but I'm not young anymore. They want all the young. I said, yeah, but these kids in schools need people of our maturity level. Teenagers need people of our maturity level. But the guys that are doing this, they don't want to have time for those people, right? And so all the other old people out there, like Mike and I, listen, the younger generation needs you, and so don't do this. Monitor,
Yeah.
adapt, be who you truly are, and care for people. And
Not
listen,
to toot my own horn, but I got a letter of recommendation from a school that I did a couple weeks ago. The one that I had arm wrestled that kid on. This is the letter I got from the principal. He said, "Dear Mike, I wanted to say thank you for sharing your time, skills, and message with my staff and students at." I'm not going to say the name of the school. It has been a week since you came here and shared with us, and my students are still talking about it. I have a few students who have sort of started a book club, because I give them all a free copy of this book here, this Value Up book. I give them all a free copy. But anyways, I started a book club where I've overheard them at lunch talking about this chapter or that chapter.
wow,
I know you are aware of how much you're making a difference, but they're still mulling over it in silence by themselves. But I do not know if you realize how long the conversations in groupthink last after you're gone. Blah blah blah. But yeah, it made me feel good, because
yeah,
again, I think my 20-year-old self would say, "Hey, good job staying relevant, like caring about their needs." Relevancy, really, that's what it comes down to, is
right,
caring about the people that are in a different culture than you. They're younger. They have different needs. Some of them are the same, but some of them are different, or at least in the way they manifest themselves. All of us have been lonely. All of us have needed connection with other people. All of us have drives and needs and things like that. So that hasn't changed. What's changed is the way they talk about it and some of the vernacular. And I think if you can, try to stay, like you understand that. My 20-year-old self would say, good job at that, because I think that's what I've tried to do. And you've done it too. I mean, you walking around, I brought you into schools recently, and they immediately are drawn to you because you like them. Like, that's the thing too with the kids. Not to make this about school assemblies, but kids, they can sense that adults don't like them. They just can, but they can also sense when adults do like them.
yeah,
And I like them. Like, I love them because you're supposed to love everybody. Blah blah blah. But I like them. Like,
yeah,
and so do you. Like,
yeah.
remember that time up in Washington when we did that human bowling alley? I think you organized it. We had the kids all, like 10 kids stand up, and then we threw another kid into them, or they rolled into them or something. I don't know how we did that, but it was so freaking funny, and we had a commotion going in the cafeteria. It was like there was, it was all these people getting mad. The teachers are, but the kids were like crowding around us, and the principal came out and he goes, "What do you guys do?" Like, "Oh, we just put a bowling alley in your school." Like, that was so freaking funny.
And it wasn't something that it's like I don't go into school and go, okay, now I need to be the life of the party. I don't even try to be the life of the party. What you said earlier was so good. Relevancy is just simply caring about that person, seeing that person. You naturally adapt to who they are when you care about them.
Yeah.
And even when I get a new job or I go into a room and someone else is there, I just want to like people. I've spent my life. My 20-year-old self will probably be proud of that. I spent my life trying to like people, and plus part of that's my personality too, right? But when I like people, I'm constantly trying to make their day and honor them. And when I do that, oftentimes I step on people's toes or I go too far, I get too crazy. And during those times, I've allowed myself to just shut down instead of just continue to be who I am. But it comes out of me naturally because I like people. And when you like people, you naturally adapt to get along with
Well,
them
it's a
better.
two-edged sword for you because the part that makes you really good at reading the room and knowing what people need to have fun and to lighten up and to relax and let their guard down, that's a gift you have. But it's a double-edged sword because it's also you read the room when somebody's like, you know, and you
Right.
read that too, and you take it in. And what
Yeah.
what I've tried to help you with is screw them, like
And
stick up your ass.
don't let that hurt your feelings.
Yeah,
Don't
like
take that
they're not.
personal. Don't,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're not they're not why you're there. Like there's teachers that don't like the way I do it because I get real and I talk about the real stuff. I talk about the uncomfortable stuff
Yeah.
in a real way. And there's teachers that would rather not have that happen because it opens
Yeah.
up a can of worms for
Right.
them and it makes them work harder. Sorry, I'm not there for
And
you.
if that teacher had to be in your position and talk to those students at any school, whether that one or any other, they couldn't do it. They
Yeah.
wouldn't do it. It would just flop because they, you know, yeah.
Yeah. All
So
right. Well, this has been good. 20-year-old self. Listen, those of you that are watching this, I'm going to let Steve end this, but I want to say to you, um, don't be too hard on yourself. Like it's good to have you 20-year-old self look at some things that, and that doesn't mean that you can't change those things. I mean, I like that 20-year-old self that said, "Hey, probably should have listened to your inner self." Well, I listen to that guy now because I don't just go with the flow. I listen to my own
yeah,
gut. I trust myself, and so that it's not a negative thing, but it's good to look at it and then also the positive stuff like, hey, you know what? This is what I'm proud of myself on, and
yeah,
that's not a bad thing to do. It's not pride; it's just assessment. So,
yeah.
Steve, close us up, buddy.
It's not about our performance. It's about living. It's not about performing. It's just be who you naturally are. And I think this is a great exercise that we should all do. Even if you're a teenager or preteen or whatever, if you're older than us, I think it's all a great question to ask. I guess if you're a teenager, you can't ask what your 20-year-old self would want,
That's what your
want to be like.
3-year-olds are. What is your
Yeah.
toddler?
What would your,
More crayons, more crayons.
but I think it's a great question to ask. But I think to be fair and to tie into what Mike just said, when you ask somebody to what's something you would love to change about yourself. I've done this in public before speaking, and people raise their hands and they've got a list a mile long. Even in private conversations, what's one thing that you would love to change? Oh man, where do I start? Right? They have a long list, and then you ask them what's something you're doing well with, and they go, well, um, listen, if you're going to do this exercise, which I would recommend, um, make sure that you have just as many things that your 20-year-old self will be proud of as you
Yeah,
do
don't
your
beat
20-year-old
yourself
old
up.
self would tell you to change. And
Yeah,
it needs to be in balance because you do things right too. It's
yeah,
just easier to spot the things that you do that you wish you could do better because you're trying to improve yourself. So make it even. Make sure that you spend time going, what are some areas that my younger self would be proud of right now? Because you have conquered, you have moved forward, you are a genius, and everybody's a genius, like we said earlier, like Einstein
Einstein.
said. But if you try to tell a fish it's supposed to climb a tree, it's going to feel stupid. And
Yeah.
don't allow people to tell you to climb a tree if you're a fish, and vice versa. Yeah.
Way to go.
Thanks
Good,
for having
great,
me,
great way
Mike.
to
That
end.
was
I love
fun,
it.
man.
I love
That
it.
inspired me, man. That was very
Boom.
encouraging to me. Boom, baby.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Sorry about last week. It was Easter. We were traveling,
Easter.
but we're going to keep this going here.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Old Man Challenge is coming up. We'll have to have another one for next week, Steve-O.
All right. Sounds
All right.
good to me. You bring it. You bring it. I'll make fun of it.
Come on now. All right. See you later.
See you later.
Bye.